Bridget Bartlett here. Today, I am going to give you an overview of pipelines and opportunities within high level. And I'm also going to share with you some behind the scenes of what my actual workflows look like. So, hopefully, you can get some, I'm going to show you how to create it in a very simple way to hopefully, if this is your first time ever working with pipelines and opportunities, you have an idea of how to create your own. But I also want to show you my real back end workflows that I use for my onboarding process to hopefully get your mind thinking of some more advanced strategies and how you can utilize the pipelines and opportunities, maybe in some ways that you've never considered before. Okay. So, inside of high level, and you can go to before I get started, if you do not have a high level account, or you want to join our program, you can go to myvisionagency.com. You will see that all of the resources inside of our program, you do have the ability to resell our AI, um, our white label AI ads manager. So you can also register for the free training here if you're interested. You can see all of the resources down here. I did want to tell you guys if you're new or if you are a member, that we do have a white label support for our clients now. So that's really cool with the white label AI ads manager. You can see how all of this works. But down here, you'll see the different plans. You can create a starter plan, get 5 licenses. A plus, you get 10. And then the unlimited plan, we do have an unlimited plan. If you want to create a high level account, you can actually get access to our membership program for free. You will get a starter plan, which is this plan here. You can get that starter plan by signing up for high level or upgrading to SaaS. Okay. So, inside of the account, you'll see that we have 3 stages here to our pipeline. Now, you want to think about whether you are doing lead gen, like we would do cold, warm, hot, or if you're doing like an onboarding. Okay. So, we have cold, warm, hot, and then we, of course, want to set up our automation. So, I'm going to go into the automations tab and I'm going to create workflow, and we're going to just start from scratch. There are tons of recipes that you could use, but I think when you're trying to really understand how all of this works, you want to kind of build this out your own and make it simple and then start adding things. So, the purpose of this pipeline here is as we get users, we get cold leads, we're going to start creating cards here with our contact information. So, it's going to start building out all of these different cards, and we can click on there and we can check out the profile and all the activities and different things that we have for that customer. So, it's like getting a bird's eye overview of all the actions that's being taken place inside of your high level sub account. So, what's really cool is when you're using this, especially like for project management or like onboarding, same with the warm, hot, and cold, you can just move the card from stage to stage and you can trigger automations based on that. Okay. Now, it's really easy to create a pipeline. The biggest struggle is just going to be you trying to determine what are the stages that you need them to work through. So, I'm going to go ahead and just show you how easy this is to create a pipeline. So I'm going to say leads. And then, of course, what are the stages of our leads? All right. Maybe it's the cold stage, the warm stage, the hot stage. I could do onboarding. All right. So if I wanted to do onboarding, I could say, maybe they submitted onboarding. So it could be there's a form or something that I want them to submit. And then also they submitted the onboarding. What would be the next stage? So maybe in progress. Okay. And then the next stage of the onboarding, maybe there's an error. So maybe we need to contact the client and say, "Hey, there's a problem here." And then we have complete. Okay. So we would have, obviously when it's the complete stage, that means that their onboarding is complete. So that's really just how you want to think about whether you're doing lead gen or the onboarding or any other type of project management using pipelines and opportunities. Because keep in mind, you could use this for like web design, right? Did they submit for mockup one? Did they submit the information and then send it to them? Did they, is it in progress and whatever? So you could just build out those stages and automate it. So anything that you would like to create an automation when a person gets to that stage, that's what you want to use to build out these pipelines. And I love how this makes it really easy to follow along and like get that bird's eye view of all of your accounts. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just save this. And then now the next step is we want to create those automations. So we've built out that pipeline there. Now I want to create this automation for, and we're typically going to create like a stage for each or a workflow for each stage. Okay, so I'm going to go now to my onboarding pipeline, and you'll see here that we have submitted the onboarding. It's in progress. There's an error incomplete. Okay, so this very first stage is going to be submitted onboarding. Okay. And you all know if you've ever seen any of my videos, I can't type, especially when I'm live. I don't know what happens to my brain, but okay. So the very first thing that we want to happen is we need to figure out first our trigger. Okay. So we have our stage here in the pipeline. How do we want or how are we going to tell the system when someone lands in this stage? Okay. Now, it could be that they submitted a form. So I have a form in my onboarding in the membership area that when they've completed certain things, there is a form that gets submitted. So my stage here would be like when they submitted the form. Okay. So I could choose, not order, I would choose form, and then I would do form submitted, and then I can choose the specific form that they need to fill out that's going to trigger this automation. Now, I could also, if I wanted to, I could also just choose the opportunity. So when this opportunity has the created, we could say, and then let's choose the in the pipeline. So we're going to say in the onboarding pipeline, and the stage is submitted. Okay. So however I want to do, I could even do a tag, whatever, however my onboarding is set up to where it's going to trigger this first stage of my pipeline. And again, it doesn't have to be submitted onboarding. It could be whatever that first stage is that we want to trigger that to be updated and trigger this this automation. So the way that it's set up right now, any way, and we could have 500 different workflows, and we could be sending the all of those different stages to that same pipeline if we want to, and it would trigger this automation anytime from any of those workflows that someone lands in this pipeline, it's going to trigger this automation. Okay. So you may want to just have it specific to the form. Again, this is one of those things where there's so many strategies and opportunities and ways that you can use this. You really just need to think about your business processes. Okay. So typically, a lot of us, we will choose the form. Okay, so that's how mine is set up. I'm going to show you here. So I'm just going to choose when my onboarding form is submitted. Let's go ahead and select it. And I don't think I have one in the sample account. No, so let's just choose a form. Let's say it's this one. And then now what we want to do is the form submitted, but we have not updated that opportunity yet. So what we want to do is the first thing, go ahead and create or update that opportunity. So we're going to go to the onboarding and we're going to choose the stage, which is submitted. And now we can choose the opportunity name. So the opportunity name is what's going to appear underneath their name, or I'm sorry, their opportunity name is what's going to appear on the card. So what I'd want to do is I can type in a value if I want to, or I can even put their contact name here. So I could put their full name and then it will show up the full name. Maybe I want to use their email address. Maybe I want to use like their source, however they signed up, whatever you want to be at the top there as the identifying factor of this contact in the opportunity, then you can add that there. Okay. So we also have the opportunity source. Now you can use a custom value here. If you go into the contact section, you'll see the opportunity source and it will add whatever the system thinks the source is. However, since this is very specific, this is a specific workflow for the people who have opted in to our onboarding, I'm just going to say onboarding. Okay. And now we can add the lead value. So if we know the lead value, of course, we can add it there and then we can choose open, one, lost, or abandoned. So obviously this is going to be one because this is already a client and they have submitted their onboarding. We could choose to allow to move to previous stages and all of that. Just to make this simple, I'm not going to choose that. I'm going to just leave this here. So update the opportunity. So now what we're doing, that form has been submitted, and inside of our pipeline here, once that form's submitted, it'll automatically create a card. So that's what we've done in the automation so far. We've just set it to every time that form's submitted, it creates that contact and then creates the contact card in the opportunities pipeline. Now, the next step is maybe we want to add a tag. Maybe we want to send an email, right? So let's go ahead and add a tag because you guys know that I am a tag fanatic. So I love it. So I could say like onboarding submitted. Let's just choose this, even though that's not relevant, just to go ahead and add that tag. Now we could add the email here. We're going to send an email. We're going to say, thank you for submitting the onboarding. So I'm going to say, hey, let's go ahead and use some custom values here. Hey, first name. Thank Thank you for submitting your onboarding. And now, of course, I want to tell them what to expect next. We are working on your system. We will let you know the next stage. Da 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 da. Maybe you want to check out some training, whatever I want to tell them about this stage is what I'm going to send them in the email. Of course, I can say, welcome or congrats on your onboarding, whatever I want to say in this email. And of course, you could notify team members. You could create tasks for yourself. Any of these things that you wanted to do at this point, send Slack notifications. All of these things can be done now at this point, and all of it is going to be triggered every single time that specific form gets filled out. Okay. So this is really the start of our sales pipeline. So now what happens when we move them to the next phase, which is in progress? Okay. So let's go back now. We want to create another workflow. So I'm going to say start from scratch. And we're going to say in progress because we want to keep organized here. And now the stage is going to be what I want to trigger this. Of course, it could be a tag, it could be, any action, any manual action, whatever I want it to be. It could be, but typically, if you are wanting to start your automations based on the movement of the card, meaning they submit the onboarding and then I do the onboarding. And then when the onboarding is done manually, okay, because that would be like a manual process. Once that's done, or once I start it, I'm going to move that into progress. Okay. So when I move that onboarding into progress, I'm telling the system, hey, we're working on this right now. So this is important for me as the person doing the onboarding or a team member who is working on the onboarding, or maybe we have a few people on doing that. Now we can see all of the stages here. So they submitted. Now it is actively in progress. If there's an error, of course, we want to move them here. And then once it's complete, we want to move them here. So here now, when it's in progress, what I want to do is I want to have that trigger be a manual action. I want to move them when we're actually doing the onboarding. I want to move them to the next stage to trigger that automation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do opportunities changed here. And then I'm going to say in pipeline, and let's choose our onboarding. And then let's choose the stage that they would be moved to. So in progress. So now what do I want to tell them about I probably want to send them an email. Okay. So I'm going to send them an email and I'm going to say, hey, we started working on your system. Here's what to expect. Maybe I could add tags. I could do all of those things there. Okay. So whatever I want to build out in this system here, I can do that in the in progress, and that will trigger based on that automation. So now you can see we have another one here. So we have error. So of course, same thing. We want to create another workflow here. So we're going to say stage error, whatever you want to give it a name as. And we're going to choose here, again, we're going to choose opportunity, stage or opportunity changed. And then we're going to say in pipeline, onboarding, and we're going to say this specific stage. And now it's going to trigger these automations. So we'll say error. Yep. And then whatever we want to happen here is what we want to trigger, right? So maybe we're moving them. Maybe we are something that's really cool. Let me show you this here. When we're sending our emails, if they have filled out a form and they have, let's say, in the contact form in our onboarding, we can go into the contact and go to custom fields, and we can add any of the custom information that we wanted to. Let's just say that when they fill out our onboarding form, we ask them for their what's the name of the registrar. Okay. So if we wanted to say, hey, there was an error, let's go ahead and type this out. Hey, use a custom value for the name. So let's go up here to the name. Hey, first name, comma. It seems that the domain that you entered into your onboarding form, comma, and then now we have the exact domain that they entered into the onboarding form is not correct. Okay, so maybe that's the error. We could even, if we want this text here, whatever they entered in the onboarding form, if we wanted this to be bold and maybe want to change this to red, then it'll be real obvious when they see it that that information is incorrect. Now, remember, it's built into their pipeline because, or built into their profile because when they filled out the onboarding form, that goes into their profile information. So it already knows if they filled out that field, it already knows what that field was. Okay. So that's a really, really helpful thing when you are wanting to send these types of like onboarding messages. Okay. So let's go through just for the sake of saying I walked you through the whole thing. Let's go ahead and let's create our last one. And then I want to show you the back end of what my onboarding looks like. And then hopefully you guys can see like how all of this can work together. So I'm going to say stage complete. Of course, I'm going to obsessively spell it correctly. And then we're going to choose the opportunity changed. And then we're going to choose in pipeline, what is it? It's the onboarding. And then, of course, we have stage change and it's going to be complete. So now when their setup is complete, we can send them an email and say, hey, thank you. We got your system set up and all of these things. Okay. So now let's get to the goods because you guys are really, really going to like this. Okay. So inside of my onboarding system here, you'll see, and let's go into the actual, before we get in too deep into that, let's go into the membership area. We're going to go into the learning tab where the onboarding is. And you'll see if you go down here, we have instructions. Okay, so we have the snapshot and a video and all of that, but you'll see this form here. Okay, so this form needs to be filled out, and that's what's going to trigger the onboarding process. Okay, so now when the form's filled out, that's what's going to go here. Then once we start or if there's information like we're waiting on something, if there was some type of issue or whatever, we can move it to the waiting on the client. That could also trigger different automations. Like if they're waiting there too long, you want to, start some other automations. And then also when it's in progress, domain error, and then complete it. Okay. So inside of the automations, I want to walk you through each step here. All right. So the very first step is going to be, and I do have these saved in a folder. That's really helpful. So we have the onboarding requested. So let me show you what happens when someone requests an onboarding. Okay, so they're filling out this form and I'm choosing the specific form. Now, what I have happen is they're going through this branch. I'm using if else conditional logic and I'm saying, what membership level are they? Are they level 1 with GHL? Are they in a trial? Okay, so we're choosing or. So they need to have one or this tag or this tag to be considered a GHL person. White label suite, do they have this tag? Play, do they have this tag? If they don't have any tags, they're going into that none branch. Okay, so now we have the 4 different branches. As soon as that form gets submitted, the system is going to segment that contact through these different criteria. So what happens is if they're a GHL member, what we're going to do is remove them from the trial workflow because obviously they submitted their onboarding. They no longer need the onboarding emails. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add a tag that says onboarding requested because we want to know that they did request the onboarding. Now we're going to add a note here and we're going to say onboarding requested, and it will have like the date and all of that inside the notes inside the customer profile. And then also we're going to create a task here that says DIY onboarding form has been submitted. And then that way it'll show up on our dashboard as a task that needs to be completed. Okay. So now if they have fallen into the category of white label suite, what we're going to do is remove them from the workflow here. I'm sorry, that should have actually been deleted here. So let's do that together. We don't need to remove them from the GHL workflow if they're for white label suite. So what we want to do is we are going to send them down this criteria. If they had that white label suite tag, we're going to add a tag that says onboarding requested, the same note, the same task. And then we're also going to update the contact field here with one of the fields that came from the form. Okay, so in that form, and let me show you this, in the form, it says, what is the root domain you want to use? Okay, so what we need is the root domain to the website. So if it's like myvisionagency.com, now what I want to happen is I want to pull in that information, but what you can see here is we've added static text here before the actual custom value, okay, or custom field. So we're pulling in the custom field information, but we want to add a prefix to it, which is ads, and that is going to update in the customer's profile a field called white label ads manager domain, and it will add that there. So it's going to take the root domain, add that prefix for ads, and then now in all of our communications, we can just add whatever their actual subdomain is. Okay, so that is so helpful, you guys. It's amazing. Now also, membership of play, they can fall into that criteria there, and then also another email if they fall into our dump folder. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and save that. So that's what happens when an onboarding is requested. Now, of course, we're going to do the onboarding, and when we're doing the onboarding, we're going to move it into in progress. Okay, so we're moving along here, filled out the form, waiting on the client, in progress, domain error. Okay. So now we're in progress. So when this stage has been updated, now we're just going to add a note. Now I could send a email or something like that. And but like last week, before we had this more automated, in this stage, I would send an email and say, hey, we're working on this, give us 24 hours. And then that would go out automatically. Okay. But now, of course, we don't need to do that. So we're just only adding a note into the profile. So then the very next step here is if there's an error. Okay. So now what's going to happen is, of course, we're triggering that workflow that there's an error. And you'll see here, we're just choosing the stage in the pipeline. So what stage do we want to monitor when it gets changed? We're going to add a note in the profile saying onboarding is paused for domain error. We're going to send an email, and you can see here why I absolutely love this. In the previous stages, we updated that custom field inside of their profile. And so now that field is going to be their whole white label domain. So it's going to be ads dot whatever their domain is that they entered into the form. We're adding those records there and giving them instructions on how they can update those records to make sure that they have the correct ones in there. Now we're also going to wait a day. And if they're still in that error stage of the pipeline, we're going to send that message again. We're going to wait a day. We're going to wait, see if they're in there again. And then we're going to wait a day and then see if they're in there again. We're going to do that a few times, and then it's going to just cancel the onboarding. Okay. Because obviously, if we haven't gotten a hold of them in a week, they're probably not that serious about the onboarding. So we're just going to remove that and then cancel it. Now, when it gets complete, we have another stage here. So onboarding completed. So what happens, of course, we're going to trigger the movement of the card. So it's going to go into the completed stage. We're going to add a tag that says onboarding completed. Now, we're also going to send a review request via email, because that's one of the ways when we complete a service, we definitely want to ask for reviews, because if you don't ask for them, you won't get them. Okay, so definitely ask for reviews when you do something. And then also we have just updating the notes so that we know when we look at the customer's profile in the notes section, we know when the onboarding was requested and completed, and then every stage as well. And then we also have an email that gets sent out, and it has an instructional video here. And then also also, you can see the admin registration URL. This is actually pulled in from their profile because when we create their white label domain, we add the invite links for for the admin registration and for the client registration. We add those links to their profile, and then when when the card gets moved to completed, the system is so smart that it will the contact that's attached to that opportunity card, when it gets moved to completed, it's going to go through all of this information here. It's going to get down here, and then it's going to read that field in their profile, and then it's going to fill in this data here. Okay. We're going to send a text message. We're going to grant them access to the membership area. We're going to revoke the old access, and we're going to remove a tag. And then also we have some additional tasks that we want to remove. So that's literally walking from beginning to end the my onboarding process, but hopefully gives you some ideas of how you can utilize the pipelines and opportunities inside of your HighLevel account, maybe for other things other than just simply lead gen. Okay. So lots and lots of really cool things that you can do there. Now, you guys remember, if you want to get access to our program and resell our white label ads manager, you can go to myvisionagency.com, choose one of these plans here, or you can create a HighLevel account or upgrade to SaaS here using my affiliate link, and you'll get a free starter plan here. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Go make your vision a reality. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us for today's training. If you have any questions, you can join us for open office hours starting right now at bridgetbartlett.com. It's free and open to everyone, so I'll see you there.